I don't know if you guys have realized that there is nothing radical about feminism in Singapore. My GB tuition published an analysis post on this recently and it again gained a lot of traction. So let's talk about why Singapore produces so little sustained feminist tanka. And it's not because Singaporean women are passive or unambitious, it's because the very architecture of our city-state makes feminist radicalism impossible. There are three reasons that explain why Singaporean women think that feminism doesn't apply to them. And the first one is that Singapore prides itself on being a fair meritocracy, which explains that outcomes reflect individual effort. So for Singaporean women who have succeeded within this system, feminism implies that they need collective advocacy to continue advancing. A Singaporean woman who has internalized this logical meritocracy would treat her own success as proof that feminism is unnecessary, and the woman who struggled will reach the same conclusion in the other direction, that she did not work hard enough. But neither of them will reach for collective politics because this meritocratic framing makes feminism feel redundant and self-pitying. And there is the perception that the problem of gender inequality in Singapore is largely solved. Women make up half of university graduates here, they hold distinguished jobs and they run companies, and the markers of female disadvantage that animate feminist movements in other societies like exclusion from education, the workforce, legal incapacity, they're not visible in the Singapore story. The gender inequalities that do persist here, like the CPF gap, the caregiving penalty, the underrepresentation in politics, voyeurism, they're invisible, and in fact, a quarter of Singaporeans deny that gender inequality exists at all. There's also a very, very real risk of speaking out, the risk of being labeled a troublemaker in a society that protects its harmony viciously. And every time a woman in Singapore raises a gender grievance in public, the Anna's rebuttal arrives like clockwork. Oh, what about Anna's? Singaporean men are robbed of 2 years in their prime, men have it so much harder than women, you guys need to stop complaining. And that's just a way to shut down the conversation about women's experiences by reframing the entire question of gender disadvantage as a competition that men are actually winning. And finally, the label of feminism in Singapore has been poisoned. So a third of Singaporean men have actually said that feminism does more harm than good and traditional masculinity is under threat. One of the biggest issues is that feminism in Singapore doesn't address intersectionality. Singapore's feminist movement has historically focused on citizen women, which is not a criticism unique to Singapore because most national feminist movements reproduce the exclusions of their societies. Feminism in Singapore very rarely addresses women of minority races, low-income women, and the foreign domestic workers.